It's one of the best roles in the history of British television. Doctor Who is the longest-running sci-fi series on TV and has been sold to more than 50 countries. The current reincarnation of the Doctor, actor Matt Smith, had only 2 minor TV dramas under his belt when he won the coveted role. But he's found his groove as he takes Doctor Who towards its 50th birthday. He spoke to Rachel Brown in London about his life as a Time Lord and what he fears even more than Daleks.
Matt Smith, thank you for joining us on 1+1.
My pleasure.
You've taken on the role of the 11th incarnation of the Time Lord, but it's not just a role, is it? It's a juggernaut with a clamouring fan base, huge merchandising spin-offs. Has it been daunting taking on such a massive task?
Well, you know, I mean, I guess you don't think of it in those terms, really. You become aware of those things when you play the part, and you know, you realise the extent of the fan base, and you realise that they make a doll of you or of the character. But when you take the job, it's just another acting job. How
has it been taking on a role that has endured through the ages? I mean, they've just dug up 2 lost episodes from the 60s, so that's like someone digging up an episode of you when you're 72. I
know, it's incredible. I mean, it's a huge privilege to be part of that legacy, and you know, I think they found a Troughton episode and a Hartnell one, and you know, to think that you know these 10 wonderful actors have played the same part before me, but it's glorious. It's something that you know you feel very privileged to have.
And you succeeded David Tennant, who's gone on to do pretty much his pick of whatever he likes. But he, like you, was an unknown. You went for the role at 26. You'd had a couple of stage shows under your belt, but I hear you hadn't even watched an episode before you auditioned.
Yeah, no. I mean, I hadn't. I'd never sat down and watched a full episode of Doctor Who before I auditioned for the part. But, you know, as soon as I got the script, I sort of kind of subsequently went back and looked at, you know, the whole plethora of work and of doctors, and fell in love with it. And it's like any great box set, it becomes addictive. And
is it a good path for you now? I know you were hoping to be a professional footballer at the age of 16, but a back injury ruled that out. So you've gone from perhaps being in the circle of wags to Vivians. I enjoy it thoroughly. It's a wonderful job. I wouldn't change it for the world. You could be in Australia in 2012.
You know, I think there's a very interesting relationship for Doctor Who in Australia because, you know, I think Australia as a country has been on board with the show for, you know, the best part of 40 years, like we have in England. You know, so we're sort of very pleased to have a following on Australia, and it seems like, you know, there is a real following for Doctor Who out there, and there has been for many years.
Some Doctor Who fans have said to me perhaps you could think about setting it in the Eureka Stockade times of the 1850s with the Victorian Gold Rush, or
you could go up
Ned Kelly,
or, you know, Ayers Rock. Not that we'd climb it or anything like that, be respectful, but, you know, you could have mad things coming out of the desert from the sand, some sort of sand monster in the outback, or giant mutated spiders, or, you know, it could be, it's a vast sprawling landscape. You could pick wonderful monsters. I'd love to do an episode on Australia.
But Matt Smith would have to face his most dangerous enemy.
Yeah, which would be
spiders.
Yes, I don't like spiders. That's what, you know, that's what worries me about Australia.
Can you talk to us about the Doctor's outfit and how you've kind of built a new one for yourself with the part professor, part rock star, and of course working in the old sonic screwdriver, which is kind of an intergalactic MacGyver.
It's you know, the costume is a very interesting thing because it took us sort of 3 or 4 fittings to get where we were, and I brought in the tweed blazer because it was mine, not the one I'm wearing now, but a tweed blazer, which I can never wear now ever again, obviously. And then I asked to wear a bow tie, and the producers, Stephen, Beth and Piers at the time, were like, oh, really? And of course it somehow sort of worked, and I was going to have a very long black leather jacket, but it sort of looked
Matrix
a bit too
style.
Yeah, and it felt a little bit too bad guy, perhaps. And as you said, I personally was very keen for it to have a sort of element of the Professor.
I'm glad we're on the same wavelength. See, great minds. Exactly. So, what's the plan? Well, save them all, humans and gangers. Tall order. Sounds wonderful. Is that what you were thinking? Yes, it's just so inspiring to hear me say it.
at the end of the day, you know, it's you can't overthink it. You've got to, because he's just a man who wears clothes, the same clothes every day. He might change his shirt or his bow tie or his coat every now and then, but essentially his kind of silhouette is the same.
Do you think because you hadn't seen an episode before you auditioned for the role that helped with the refreshing interpretation that you've given it? I like the way you seem to fuse that age-old weariness of a thousand-year traveller with the childlike inquisitiveness and playfulness, and
thank you.
And almost sometimes I note a kind of Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow erraticness.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's to prepare for it. I sort of, because I had the role months before I was going to start shooting, and David was still shooting the rest of the specials that he was in. So I had a sort of 6-month period where I was twiddling my thumbs doing different jobs. So I looked a lot at Albert Einstein because I thought he was the cleverest man on the planet, or has the cleverest human being. And I thought there was something very interesting about him and that picture with his tongue out. Here is, you know, the brightest man in the 20th century that we're sort of aware of, and you know, he can be ridiculous. And I think that's such a liberating thing with the Doctor, is that the fact he's so clever and so brilliant allows him to be so ridiculous and so, you know, silly, because otherwise he'd just go mad. He's met
Hitler in Berlin, he's met Nixon in the White House. Yeah. If Matt Smith could go forwards or backwards in time, where would you choose?
I'd probably do both. I mean, I'd probably go and see the Lost City of Atlantis, I think, or the dinosaurs. And if I went forwards, I don't know really. I'd probably go quite a long way. It's just, there's something sadder about going forwards, I think, somehow. I don't know why. I'd go a long way and see how like aviation's developed and what on earth's happened, what will happen to the planet if we keep abusing it, to the barrier reef. Stop, everyone. The
BBC is running a competition at the moment for people to send in questions to Stephen Hawking about the universe or time and space. What are the pondering questions that you...
Oh, wow, God, that's a brilliant one. Well, I'm really interested in the Higgs boson at the moment, and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, they're saying that if they can find a particle that is heavier than mass or something like that, then then the potential... I'm probably getting the science of this wrong, then the potential for time travel is you know, has actual potential. I'd probably ask him about time travel.
The new enemy in the recent series of Doctor Who is the Silence, which works on more of a psychological level.
Yeah.
Is Doctor Who getting a bit darker?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think a Doctor Who should be scary. I think it must be scary. And I actually think the best monsters in Doctor Who tend to have a sort of psychological edge to them, you know, and particularly the Silence, but I think the angels as well have that sort of warped psychology. If you look away, we're coming for you, you know.
Don't blink.
What? I personally love the dark tones of Doctor Who, because I think if you're going to have the light bubbliness, you have to have the dark despair, because otherwise it's unbalanced.
Is the role taking its toll on you at all? I know I think one day in 12 you get off for 9 months and 13-hour days, and then you go home and learn your lines.
It's tough, yeah, it's hard work. But if I don't do it, someone else will be very grateful to do it. So, you know, you try and remain grateful and crack on. And, you know, there's people working on building sites 10 hours a day in the freezing cold. I think that's probably worse. Have
you thought about what you'd like to move on to? Acting or writing or directing?
Quite like to direct. And I'd quite like to do a play, you know, and then maybe in a few years' time have a film career of some sort. But at the moment, my focus is solely on sort of Doctor Who and getting that right. For it's the big year, you know, we're leading up to Doctor Who's birthday, which is exciting.
Right, well, all the best to you.
Thank you.
Matt Smith, thank you for joining us on
Thank you for having me on.
Matt Smith ending up